The War of 1812, despite its inconclusive end, marked a significant turning point for the young United States. This conflict, often overshadowed by the Revolutionary War, played a crucial role in shaping the nation's identity and future. The Treaty of Ghent, signed in 1814, may have restored pre-war boundaries, but it did little to dampen the surging tide of national pride. The treaty, while not addressing the issues that had led to war, symbolized a newfound resilience and determination among the American people. A sense of unity, which had been largely absent in the early years of the Republic, began to take root. Communities across the nation celebrated their collective endurance and the promise of a brighter future. Americans had faced a formidable foe in Great Britain and emerged, if not victorious, then certainly unbroken. The war had tested the young nation's mettle, and the people had proven their ability to stand firm against external threats. This newfound confidence ushered in what is often remembered as the era of good feelings. It was a time characterized by a sense of national purpose and a desire to move forward together. The Federalist Party, which had opposed the war, found itself increasingly marginalized. Their dire warnings of economic ruin and military disaster had proven unfounded, leading to a decline in their influence. The nation's economy, contrary to Federalist predictions, began to recover and even thrive. Trade resumed, and new opportunities for growth and prosperity emerged. The nation, it seemed, had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. The post-war period saw a surge in infrastructure development and community rebuilding efforts, laying the foundation for future expansion. The spirit of national unity extended beyond mere politics. It permeated every aspect of American society, fostering a sense of shared identity and common purpose. This sense of unity was evident in the daily lives of American families and communities. People came together to celebrate their shared heritage and to work towards a common future. This was evident in the burgeoning arts and literature of the time. American artists and writers began to explore themes that were uniquely reflective of their national experience. From the evocative landscapes of the Hudson River school painters, who captured the natural beauty and vastness of the American landscape, to the romantic writings of Washington Irving and James Fenimore Cooper, who wove tales that resonated with the American spirit, a distinctly American cultural identity began to emerge. This cultural renaissance was a testament to the nation's growing self-confidence and sense of destiny. The War of 1812 had, in many ways, been a second war of independence. It reaffirmed the United States' sovereignty and its determination to stand on equal footing with the world's great powers. It solidified American sovereignty and set the stage for a period of unprecedented national growth and expansion. The young nation was poised to embark on a journey of exploration, innovation, and development that would shape its future for generations to come. In 1817, James Monroe, a hero of the Revolution and a staunch advocate for national unity, assumed the presidency. Monroe, who had served in various capacities including as a diplomat and Secretary of State, brought with him a wealth of experience and a vision for a united and strong America. His election marked the beginning of what became known as the era of good feelings. This era was characterized by a sense of national purpose and a desire for unity among Americans. The country was experiencing a period of relative political harmony, with the decline of the Federalist Party leaving the Democratic-Republican Party as the dominant force. This period, however, was not without its challenges. Despite the outward appearance of unity, the nation faced significant internal and external pressures. Domestically, issues such as economic instability, debates over states' rights, and the question of slavery loomed large. The fledgling nation, eager to assert its place on the world stage, faced a complex geopolitical landscape. Internationally, the United States had to navigate the ambitions of European powers, who were keen on expanding their influence and reclaiming lost territories in the Americas. The Monroe Doctrine, articulated by President Monroe in his 1823 address to Congress, was a bold statement of American foreign policy. This doctrine was a defining moment in the history of the United States, setting the stage for its future interactions with the rest of the world. It declared that the Americas were no longer open to European colonization. This was a direct response to the growing concerns that European powers, particularly Spain and Portugal, might attempt to reassert control over their former colonies in Latin America. Any attempt by European powers to interfere in the affairs of the Western Hemisphere would be considered a hostile act. Monroe's message was clear: the United States would not tolerate any form of colonialism or intervention in its neighborhood. This assertive stance sent a clear message to the world. The United States was a rising power, determined to protect its interests and those of its neighbors. The doctrine underscored the nation's commitment to sovereignty and self-determination for the countries of the Americas. The Monroe Doctrine, though initially met with skepticism by European powers, would become a cornerstone of American foreign policy for generations to come. European leaders were wary of this bold proclamation, but over time, they came to respect the resolve of the United States. The doctrine was, in essence, a declaration of American hegemony in the Western Hemisphere. It was a clear assertion that the United States saw itself as the protector and leader of the Americas, a role it would continue to embrace and expand upon in the years to follow. It reflected the growing confidence of the United States and its determination to chart its own course in world affairs. The Monroe Doctrine was not just a policy statement, it was a reflection of the nation's burgeoning sense of identity and purpose. The Monroe Doctrine signaled the arrival of the United States as a major player on the international stage. It was a bold declaration that the young nation was ready to take on a leadership role, not just in the Western Hemisphere, but in the broader global arena. This doctrine laid the groundwork for America's future foreign policy and its eventual emergence as a global superpower. The era of good feelings was characterized by a remarkable degree of political consensus. With the decline of the Federalist Party, the Democratic-Republican Party, led by figures like James Madison and James Monroe, became the dominant political force in the nation. This one-party system, however, did not necessarily equate to complete political harmony. Within the Democratic-Republican Party itself, distinct factions began to emerge, each with its own vision for the future of the nation. These divisions, though initially muted, would eventually lead to the re-emergence of a two-party system. One faction, led by men like John Quincy Adams and Henry Clay, favored a more activist federal government. They supported internal improvements, such as roads and canals, and a national bank to promote economic growth. They also tended to hold more nationalist views, emphasizing the importance of a strong federal government to bind the nation together. Another faction, championed by figures like John C. Calhoun and later Andrew Jackson, advocated for limited government and states' rights. They viewed a powerful federal government with suspicion, fearing that it would infringe on individual liberties and the autonomy of the states. The War of 1812 had exposed the limitations of the young nation's infrastructure. The conflict underscored the urgent need for a more robust and interconnected system to support the country's growth and defense. Roads were rudimentary, often little more than dirt paths that became impassable in bad weather. Canals, which could facilitate the movement of goods and people, were few and far between. The lack of a national bank further hindered economic growth, as there was no centralized financial institution to provide stability and support for burgeoning industries. Recognizing these challenges, Henry Clay, a prominent congressman from Kentucky, proposed a bold plan known as the American System. Clay was a visionary who believed that the United States could transform itself into a powerful and self-sufficient nation through strategic investments and policies. Clay's vision aimed to strengthen the nation through a series of interconnected measures. He believed that by improving infrastructure, the country could enhance its economic efficiency and foster a sense of national unity. A protective tariff would shield American industries from foreign competition, allowing them to grow and prosper. This tariff would make imported goods more expensive, encouraging Americans to buy domestically produced products and thus support local businesses and industries. Revenues from the tariff would fund internal improvements such as roads, canals, and railroads, facilitating trade and communication. These improvements would not only make it easier to move goods across the country, but also connect distant regions, fostering economic interdependence and national cohesion. A national bank would provide a stable currency and regulate the nation's financial system. This institution would offer a reliable source of credit for businesses and individuals, helping to stabilize the economy and promote growth. The American system, though controversial, was rooted in a deep belief in the potential of the United States. Clay and his supporters argued that these measures were essential for the country's long-term prosperity and independence. Clay argued that by investing in infrastructure and protecting American industry, the nation could achieve economic independence and become a global power. He envisioned a future where the United States would not have to rely on foreign nations for essential goods and services. The American system was not without its critics. Some argued that it represented an overreach of federal power, and that it unfairly favored certain regions and industries over others. Opponents, primarily from the South, argued that the tariff unfairly benefited northern manufacturers at the expense of southern planters. They contended that the South, which relied heavily on agriculture and exports, would be disproportionately burdened by higher prices for imported goods. Nevertheless, many of Clay's proposals, particularly those related to internal improvements, gained widespread support and contributed to the nation's economic expansion. The construction of new roads, canals, and railroads helped to open up new markets and stimulate economic activity across the country. These developments laid the groundwork for the United States to emerge as a major economic power in the years to come.